Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today's deck profile for you, we've got the Golden Armors, and what that is of course both of our Golden Armors, but as well as Digimon. So it's all of our yellow armors all wrapped up into one deck, utilizing a lot of the great utility cards that come with yellow, as well as some of the utility cards that come with armors, and we get to wrap them all together in one nice package. And honestly, this deck is a tremendous amount of fun. I've been having a blast playing Vmon armor, but honestly, getting to play this and also like playing armors but also having Rapidmon at my disposal like completely blows my mind. Playing this deck, it's totally surreal. It's like if you combined like aspects of security control with armor rush and you combine them together, and that's what this deck is. It is crazy. It is super fun. Let's get into this. Also, our new featured memory marker this month is Narrowmon here. This is handmade out of clay by my wife, as always. Hand painted as well. Super adorable. Great memory marker. If you're playing some Mastemon or even some yellow, this is a pretty awesome memory marker to go with those decks. You can find that on our Etsy page, link in the description below. Also there you can find all of our previous memory markers that we've had on the channel, as well as some of our Battle Ready Ink merch like our dice, as well as our game mats and card sleeves. Alright, so I got the deck pulled up as a whole here. Now we are 4 cards over, and that's because the last 4 cards at the end are just cards I want to talk about that I debated putting into the deck that I ultimately either cut or didn't use. So just for the babies, right off the bat, the main one is Upamon. If you have 3 or fewer security, draw 1. Like, this has always been a really like staple card in a lot of yellow decks since its inception way back in BT3. Like pretty much always the go-to, but I think there's argument for Koromon. We saw some Koromon being used a whole lot back during like Lord Nightmon days, as well as a little bit of War Greymon as well. If you have 3 or fewer security cards, when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for the turn. So this combos really nicely with stuff like Rapidmon, our Digmons, as well as our Codys here. We do a lot of DP minusing, and so you could say there's definitely some arguments to some Koromons. Now again, both these eggs don't really come into play until you've started taking security damage. So until then, you know, you're not going to get any kind of good use out of these. So either one, I think either one, there's argument for either one. You just got to kind of plan accordingly with your Digivolutions, which ones are going on top of which. And then for our rookies here, we've got the vanilla Armadillo Mon, and why we play Armadillo Mon is because Digimon specifically can only Digivolve on top of Armadillo Mon, okay? In the feature match, we did mess that up at one point, because normally you can only Evo on top of green, except Armadillo Mon is the exception. So we have to maximize out on Armadillo Mons for this deck, and of course we're going to stick to the yellow ones. There is a blue one that we could run, but you would have to hard play that one, whereas these we can Digivolve, and that's a little bit more ideal. But we do have an on-play Armadillo Mon here in the form of our Searcher. So reveal the top 4 cards of the deck, add 1 2-color card among them to your hand, place remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is just like the Vmon Searcher that's also in the set. We have, of course, all of our 3 armors, but as well as our level 5s here in the form of Shakuomon. So we have a decent amount of duo colors here. You really only want to play this, though, when you need those armors. If you don't already have armors in hand and you really need to get some, because if not, then if you're just kind of playing it to play it, and you've already got armors in hand, then it's kind of a waste, because there's going to be bottom decking a lot of more like utility sorts of cards, or rookies, tamers, that sort of thing. So you got to be mindful when hard playing out this Armadillo Mon. Don't do it just because you can, just because it's an on play. And then next we got the Patamon. This is still great. This has always been like one of those like really essential cards in every yellow player's arsenal that, you know, you keep in your collection. It might not be in rotation in your yellow deck all the time, especially with yellow hybrid. But right now it is incredibly good in conjunction with Rapidmon. So when an opponent's Digimon is deleted by dropping to 0 DP, gain 1 memory. So with cards like Rapidmon being normally at 4 Evo cost, if you delete something by lowering its DP, DP, you gain that 1 memory back. It's kind of like making your Rapidmon a 3 Evo, or your Wyvern's Breath, reducing the play cost of it. Or, when attacking and you delete something with a Cody or a Digimon ability, that's just free memory. Lots of utility out of Patamon, especially in this deck. Like, it's already good in, like, security control, but it's especially good right now in this deck, in this particular type of build. So really, really liking Patamon. He's like probably our go-to. Now, what I did change from the feature match was add in 2 Salamon, just because this deck, it is similar to the Vmon Armor Rush in that you're just trying to go aggro as fast as possible, but you can't always just do that and win. Sometimes you might run into a little bit faster of a deck, or a little bit more control heavy deck. So I really like the Salamon in armors, just like it is in security control, because when the armor releases, so even if they DP minus the armor will still release, revealing the Salamon underneath, and then the Salamon gets deleted. So just because you Evo on top of Salamon, that's still okay, because usually your armor will still release, and leaving the Salamon underneath it to still get deleted to trigger your recovery. So a little bit of recovery just to help keep the deck going and keep fueling things to last a little bit longer. So just did a 2 of, if you want to bump it up a little bit more, you can. Like in the Vmon Armor Rush, we are running 16 rookies. In this one, I did cut it down by 2, but again, there's still argument to run the 16 here if you want to bump up the Salamon to a full 4 of and cut something else somewhere else in here. You can always do that. The Wyvern's Breath or their yellow memory boost kind of stand out a little bit. Maybe cut down the armor texture to 3. Just whatever fits for you. Maybe armor texture in Sukuamon to bump up those Salamons if you feel so inclined. But the 12 actually worked for me. If you saw the feature match, the 12 was still plenty, completely fine with the armor release, that sort of thing. The armor texture, you don't actually need as many rookies. Just kind of keep that in mind. Next, we got Digimon here. Again, 2 Evo cost on top of Armadillo. The only way to get him, besides hard playing him, is to Evo on top of the Armadillo Mons. And his ability is when attacking one of your opponent's suspended Digimon, gets minus 3,000 DP for the turn. So keep that in mind. It's a little similar to Flamedramon. Flamedramon gets a plus 3,000 when he attacks, whereas this one is a minus 1,000 or minus 3,000 when attacking. So kind of similar in that kind of vibe. They're both like kind of designed to get over things, other threats. But this is nice just because you can like completely remove. I can swing at security with my 5,000 DP and then delete something that's 3,000 DP on the field. Or, you can also stack this minus 3,000 with other abilities, such as like Koromon that we went over, or the Cody, like we'll talk about towards the end there. So yeah, Digimon, just a really cool inclusion of the deck. Kind of jumping on with the Rapidmon here of you'll never get the 3 Evo on top of Terriermon in this deck. It'll always be a 4 Evo cost on top of your yellow rookies, but that's okay. When you combine it with stuff like Patamon, it makes it a 3 Evo cost, which isn't too bad as long as you have your memory fixer on field. Not too bad. But even still, even if you have to pass turn by evoing into this Rapidmon, it's still phenomenal. So suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for each tamer you have in play, then up to 3 of your opponent's suspended Digimon get minus 5,000 DP for the turn. Just kind of like looking at the format and the meta, looking at Imperial, all their level 4s, you're going to kill all their level 4s that they might have on field, especially if they go into like an Imperial to pass turn and they play out those level 4s from underneath the Imperial, and then you just go right into a Rapidmon and clear those off before they can go into like a Pyldramon or something. Very powerful. Against armors, 2 of the 3 armors on your turn have 5,000 DP, so you can clear those armors super easy. This is a like armor killer right here, like absolutely devastates armor decks. Any sort of armor, it just does phenomenal. As well as, minus 5,000 DP on anything that's suspended, then you can just attack over it with your 6,000 DP. I mean, that's 11,000 DP crashing, 10,000 or less, you're clearing. You're swinging over it. That's incredibly powerful stuff here. Also, just suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for each tamer you haven't played. Like suspending blockers and that sort of thing, that's really good. There's no level restriction on that either. Like something like Lydramon has, that level 4 stipulation, whereas this is just you can suspend anything. So, a Mega that has blocker inheritable, like a Black War Greymon or like an X Antibody or something like that, and then just like attack for game. Rapidmon is probably the most powerful card out of BT8. I think it's the most generically useful and just most like versatile in how it just drastically impacts the meta. I think Rapidmon is the most powerful card in all of BT8 for that reason. Going back here to the Magnamon, though, again, 4 Evo cost on top of all of our yellows here is a blocker, so kind of in conjunction with the Salamon in that kind of regard there. Just another way to kind of keep you alive a little bit. Some of these decks are super fast out there, like Imperial, that sort of thing. So being able to just like stick a blocker for a turn and, reset yourself, which is also great because his other ability here is when Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon. So you can attack with an armor purge, leave your rookie on field, and then go into your Magnamon, and he unsuspends himself with that blocker. So you pass turn and he unsuspends himself, so he's ready to block right afterwards. That's fantastic. And then in addition to that, he gets 2000 DP for every armor in your trash. So 7000 DP, you got 9, 11, 13, 15. Like he racks up super fast, like incredibly fast. This Magnamon can get really big. If your opponent isn't careful and they pass turn, like say they attack with like a Mega or something like that, and they pass turn thinking that they're going to be safe, you can just bring out these Magnamons and just like throw them down on the field and be like, okay, I swing for 15,000 over your stuff. Mid game, that's not difficult at all to do. And then moving on here to our level 5, I've got Shakuamon in the deck. So another little bit of recovery. So you're going to have 4 Evo cost on top of your yellows over there. And then if you have 5 or fewer security, recovery +1. You'll pretty much never DNA Digivolve into this. In my experience playing the Vmon Armor Rush, I've never had like 2 armors on field at once that, because the idea is you want to attack constantly with them. And if you attack, I would say 9 times out of 10, they're going to armor release. And for you to have 2 suspended armors on field to be able to DNA with is so rare. And literally I've never had it come up where I could even do it, let alone actually have some sort of benefit from it. But still, the recovery 1 on the 4 Evo cost, not too bad. Especially if you swing like with a Digimon or a Rapidmon. They've done their civic duty, they've done their job, and then you can Evo into a Shakuamon to pass turn. Pretty solid, honestly. Really like the Shakuamon just as a little bit of utility. Now, again, you could, like I said, cut it down by 1, bring it down to a 3, and that should still be okay. I just like it, nice even round number there, 4 of, nice and consistent. Pretty solid card just in general. Next we got Fire Rocket, which this card is so good. Anyone that's playing Armor Rush right now knows the value of Fire Rocket. I played it at a 4 of in like every armor build that I use, because these armor decks are designed to go super fast, and if you can't go super fast, then your opponent will probably outpace you, especially against security control. Once they start establishing multiple tamers and they start sculpting their security, they've played enough Zoes and TKs, they've pulled out all the bad stuff out of security, and now their security is just filled with good stuff. It makes aggro decks very difficult to win at that point. So early game Fire Rockets and just go ham. Like if you can clear multiple security in one turn, it's very ideal. So Memory Fixer with a Cody on field, go ahead and bump your memory up so that way you can play a Fire Rocket, swing, clear 2 checks, go into a Magnamon, unsuspend, swing, clear 2 more security. That's definitely an ideal play. Or if you don't have a Magnamon, you can always use an armor texture here. So trash the top card of one of your Digimon with armor form and its traits. Then you may Digivolve one of your Digimon into a card in your hand with armor form and its traits for its Digivolution cost if you do unsuspend that Digimon. Armor texture is just so powerful, just being able to keep the pressure on. Really like armor texture, specifically when I use Fire Rocket and I go in for that swing and I survive. I get those 2 security checks and I survive. That is perfect. That is exactly what I want to happen. So then I can use armor texture to pop off and unsuspend and then go into 2 more swing or 2 more security checks after that. Usually you die on the first or second check and you don't get that that value out of it, but still I've had plenty of games where armor textures come in so clutch. But if you don't, if you do get deleted, you can always just go into the Magnamon and just do that instead, because his own effect unsuspends himself. And the security effect actually has come up a tremendous amount. Play 1 level 3 Digimon with free in its traits from among them, or from your hand or trash without it paying its memory cost. Looking, in these decks right now, every VMon is free type, but also our Armadillo Mons are free types here. Now, we really like Armor Texture, for its main effect, but we're still getting value here with these Armadillos being free. So being able to play those, playing this one from trash and getting that very clutch, much needed search of a 4-of to grab your armor in a very desperate situation is very powerful. Really like armor, and it just puts another body on field. Your opponent's like, okay, I'm going to clear a couple security here, and I'm going to get set up. They've got nothing on field. I don't, nothing in raising area. I don't have to worry about losing. I don't need to play a blocker. I don't need to get some recovery going. I'm fine. I've got no security, but that's okay because they can't put anything on field that I have to worry about. And then they swing and hit into an armor texture, and they put a body on field, and you're like, well, now I just lost because I got greedy, thinking I was safe. So yeah, armor texture, very powerful, really in these really aggro decks. I do have 2 yellow memory boosts in here. Just revealed top 4, add a yellow, like the whole deck, all of our Digimon are yellow, so we can add anything, any Digimon we want off of this, even, like our Kazimon there, that's not even on armor. And then the delay gain 2, that gain 2 is also really, really clutch, because like I was saying with the TK there, that's going to set you to 3. Now, say you've got the Fire Rocket in hand, you want to play the Fire Rocket, swing, play the Fire Rocket, that's going to bring you down a little bit, and you're going to need to be able to go into a Magnamon or a Rapidmon. These are some pretty big Evo targets here. But for memory, so you're going to need a little bit of extra memory to go into these guys. So the yellow memory boost here, gain 2, is actually exactly what you need. So yellow memory boost plus TK, that's going to put you at 5. That's play the Fire Rocket, that brings you down to 4. Swing in, Armor Purge, Evo into a Magnamon for 4. Then you can unsuspend and attack again. That's, really powerful stuff just in general there. So yellow memory boost, just all around, pretty solid card. I like it at a 2-of. I wouldn't mind getting some blue memory boost in my blue armor rush as well as Imperial. I think the memory boost in these really aggressive decks is actually kind of clutch. Now, I do have 2 Wyvern's Breath in here, just because so far in playing VMon armor, I've found that I desperately need monocolored removal options. My experience with Plasma Shot so far has not been stellar, okay? The only thing that the deck really suffers against are when they put big bodies out there with blocker. Black or Greymon with that blocker inheritable, or an X antibody with the blocker inheritable, that is so difficult for these decks to get past. It is extremely difficult. Even with Rapidmon, being able to do some DP minusing, if you can go Rapidmon and multiple Codys on field, you'll be okay. But if you can't set up those kind of big clutch plays like that, you've got to have a couple, serious level removal options in your deck to clear those threats, or else you will just hard lose instantly. When they stick that Black War Greymon with blocker inheritable, you gotta have something to clear it off field, or you will not win. It's just how it is, because being able to unsuspend after it deletes something, that's like a double block right there. That's not something you want to have to tango with. So just got the double Wyverns in here just as a safety net for any sort of big things like that, or especially if they stick a Susanoo on, you're like, oh my god, there's a Susanoo on, he's about to just completely wreck me. It's all right, just play this Wyvern's Breath, give me some little bit more breathing room sort of situation. Next, we got the Kazimon here. This is just our finisher, like I was saying earlier. Sometimes, you'd go into that double swing or whatever, and you clear all your security, but, your rookie still dies on that last security check, because the Fire Rocket, they do the Armor Purge, and then they do the second security check with the rookie because of the Fire Rocket, and then the rookie dies, and you're like, well, crap, I have no way of winning now. And then you're clutch hybrid for game. We play a decent amount of very important tamers in this deck in Cody and TK that you should at one point or another stick 1, 2, 3 tamers on field like pretty consistently every game. Every game you're going to want to stick a couple tamers, especially Cody. Cody's so valuable in this deck. It's just ridiculous. So being able to go Kazi for game is actually pretty viable. So this is just a finisher. We don't have anything like Blitz Omnimon or anything like that. So this is just our way of kind of having that little bit of insurance. And it's yellow, so we can hit it off of like yellow memory boost, that sort of thing. Next, we do have TK, though. Is a awesome memory fixer. It's this, or you go with the new Kari. We're not doing any recovery in this deck, so just this TK makes sense. Grab something yellow out of security when you play it. Whatever clutch thing you might need in that situation, or anything that might not be useful that you don't want sitting in security. Pull that out. Have a chance of sticking in something a little bit more useful. Pretty solid stuff. But yeah, he is just a memory fixer, like through and through. It's important that he's just the memory fixer for the deck. But the Cody here is what's actually super clutch. So start of your main phase, if you have a yellow Digimon to play, gain 1, like super easy to trigger. Every Digimon we have in the deck is yellow, so we can always trigger this Cody super easily. But the big huge one, which is why I like Cody more than I like the Duo Tamer, is because when one of your Digimon with 2 or more colors attacks, you may suspend this Tamer to give one of your opponent's Digimon minus 2,000 DP for the turn. If you saw the feature match where we had all 3 Codys on field and we attacked, it was a Digimon or a Rapidmon, and we went into those, did the DP minus, and then swung, and then Cody DP minus again. Like, that's so powerful. I mean, with the Rapidmon, that's minus 11,000 DP. That's huge. I mean, you're clearing everything you need to clear in the game. Rapidmon can just swing over whatever is left after all that DP minusing. So, but minus 2,000, like 2 of these is minus 4K. That's so impactful in this format. 3 of them, though, minus 6, that's so awesome. Like, there's so much 5,000 DP armors right now, and like double or triple Cody clears all of them. But then you can just go do 1 Cody and like 1 Digimon. Like, there's multiple different combinations we can do out here with the Rapidmons and the Digimons and the Codys to like just completely control your opponent's field. I mean, again, if you saw the feature match, you saw how crazy it was that we just like cleared everything the opponent threw at us with all of our DP minusing between the Digimons, the Rapidmons, and the Codys. Is so good. So our alternative stuff that I was looking at before I settled on what we did was the Karis here. If you have 3 or fewer security, gain 1 memory. I kind of debated that for a second, but I was like, oh, no, Cody. We're playing armors, dual color armors. Cody 100% makes better sense than that. If I didn't want to play the TK and I just wanted to go Kari, you could maybe do that, but I still think TK and Cody is better. And then the other one we were looking at was tie here. Your turn, while you have 3 or fewer security, all of your Digimon get 1,000 DP for the turn. When an opponent's Digimon is deleted by dropping to 0 DP, you may suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. That kind of converts our Rapidmons here into, if you combine it with a Patamon, that's like a 2 Evo cost Rapidmon. But still, I feel like just starting my turn at 3 memory is a little bit more valuable than just doing some DP minusing and gaining memory, because that only works after we've done it. So if we have the Digimon in play here, that's only after we attack. That's not on Evo. It only works on Evo with Rapidmon. So I don't like that as much. I'd rather have just the Cody for the when attacking. I can use Cody with all 3 of my armors. Even with the Shakuamon, I can use that with the Shakuamon as well. So Cody's just a little bit more versatile, I think. Now, since we are playing a dual color armor deck, I did kind of debate the Davis and Ken here, because when one of your Digimon with Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with 2 more colors, you may suspend this Tamer to unsuspend that Digimon. So if you swing with one of your armors and it armor purges, you can evo a second armor on top of it, suspend the Duo Tamer to unsuspend to swing a second time. But really, I think the armor texture works pretty well. The Magnamon doing it on its own also pretty solid. So it lost a little bit of value. But at the same time, you gain, if you have a blue Digimon in play, you gain 1 memory. If you have a green Digimon in play, you gain 1 memory. Our colors are green and blue on our secondary colors here. So we could, in theory, play the Duo Tamer in this deck and actually get decent value off of it. The only issue is, we're not going to get anything off of our rookies. Whereas Cody Cody triggers off of every single Digimon that we have. And the Davis and Ken only works on our level 4s and our level 5 there. So, it's a bit of a awkward situation, especially if you've got that tank, or you've got the rookie in raising, you promote up the rookie and then you Evo into the armor. Whereas with Davis and Ken, you have to have Evo'd into that armor in raising area and then promoted up. So again, I think the Cody wins out just a little bit, and also Cody being able to do the DP minusing, I think combos a little bit better with the strategy, because Rapidmon, Digmon, Patamon, that DP minusing thing is actually really, really combo centric, and I really like it with Cody. Whereas Davis and Ken is like pure aggro. So in like a Vmon Armor Rush deck, we don't have all this like fancy utility DP minusing and stuff like that. Vmon Armor Rush is just like go, just hit the gas and win as fast as possible. Whereas this is like, all right, we're going to try to win very quickly, but also do a little bit of shenanigans with some DP minusing and some controlling of the board along the way, because it takes us a little bit longer, that sort of thing. But yeah, the Duo Tamer really comes in clutch for Vmon, but I think this deck just, its playstyle is a little bit slower, so go with the Cody instead. And then the last one, I kind of touched on it earlier, the Plasma Shot, why I didn't want to play it. One, it only works if you have your armor form, on field. Well, I guess in this deck you could play it anytime because it is yellow. But the minus 4,000 DP and the minus 1,000 everything afterwards, whenever I was playing Vmon armors, it never really added up to what I needed it to add up to. The only thing that was ever a big threat for me that I was actually scared of was the big threats. It was the big megas, the big blockers. And in this format, you don't really have to worry about a lot of 6,000 DP blockers. Originally, I was like, oh yeah, 4 memory to minus 6,000 DP on a blocker and clear it. But that's not what's blocking me. What's blocking me is these level 5s and the level 6s with the level 4 inheritable giving them blocker. That's way too big for Plasma Shot to reliably take out. Plasma Shot is fantastic late game. Armor Rush sucks at late game. Okay, if you get to late game in Armor Rush, you're probably losing. So that's why I decided ultimately to block or drop the Plasma Shot, is just because if you hit late game, you're going to lose anyway. So I'd rather just have cards that are more impactful early game. And if the opponent does happen to get out something really big early game that's a threat, I can just drop Wyvern's Breath and still accomplish the same goal. Or more my intended goal, I should say. So yeah, that's why I like the Wyvern's Breath a little bit more than the Plasma Shot. It's just because we need to be able to control early game and win early game to mid game, as opposed to using Plasma Shot in late game. But as is the deck in total, if you've played this deck already and have any good insight for me, or any of our viewers, please put in the comment section below, how you've done with this deck, or how you think the deck matches up. I think most decks right now in the format, when they are looking at what they have to, how good they have to be, as to say, can I outpace Imperial or can I control Imperial? Or can I go against Security Control and do well? How is my matchup, particularly against Rapidmon? I think that's huge, is actually the Rapidmon matchup. Plenty of times I couldn't stick any of my armors when playing Vmon Armor Rush because the Rapidmon could just delete it. Besides my Magnamon, all my other armors were 5,000 DP. Where in this one, Rapidmon, just Rapidmon versus Rapidmon, they actually can't kill each other. So they have to be suspended so you can swing over them. And again, with playing a yellow package, you have something like Salamon underneath it. That feels pretty good, because then you get the Salamon recovery. So I think there's some really good balancing here of strategies between the Armor Rush as well as a little bit of security control, with thinking of like the Rapidmon kind of vibe there as well. We've got a little bit of recovery going on to kind of keep us in the game a little bit longer when we start to fall off a little bit. If we're losing too early and we're trying to get to that mid game spot, our a little bit of recovery here between the Shakuamons and the Salamons will actually keep us around a little bit longer than Vmon Armor Rush can keep itself around.